title of my TED Talk is Making the Familiar Strange and the Strange Familiar. It's been a way for me to sort of organize my ideas and my thoughts about graduating and what I'm going to do after I graduate. So I wanted to start out by telling you a little bit about my familiar. So I grew up in Irvine, California, which I know Sean's from, Uni. And this is a picture of my house. And this is a picture of my neighbor's houses. And if you're looking at all three together, you might notice that the colors are pretty much the same, the architecture is pretty much the same, and the landscaping is pretty much the same. And that's not really by chance. I live in a neighborhood where there's a homeowners association. And if you guys don't know what that means, it means that if your palm trees are overgrown, they need trimming, you get a letter, and it's from them. And if the paint's peeling from your shutters, you get a letter from them. Basically, they try to maintain the value of the houses in the community. So, this might sound pretty shocking to you guys, and it seems really weird. It might seem really weird, but it's not too surprising in Irvine. Irvine's a planned community where, every tree is meticulously planned where it's going to be planted, and you can't build anything without city approval. And so, in sort of a stretched out metaphor, just kind of in the same way that my house and the city I grew up in were planned, so also was my life. So this is my mom. She's changed a lot over these past 4 years, and today I can honestly say that she's one of my best friends, and I look to her for support, and she's honestly one of my heroes, but she wasn't always that way. I had what you might call a tiger mom, and so, if it wasn't school, then it was music, and if I didn't succeed in either of those, or if I slipped up, the consequences were really severe, and, growing up I didn't know any different. And so, for the first, I would say, around 17 years of my life, it sort of set up a culture of, fear of failure, and then self-dissatisfaction, and pressure to follow the traditional trajectory for success in life. And I adopted the values and goals that my parents had, and I did it without really thinking too critically, and I did it fearing more, the fact that if I deviated from the path, then all hell would break loose, my life would fall apart, and I would have nothing to show for myself. And so when I say traditional trajectory, I mean something sort of like this timeline. So in elementary school, there's the gifted and talented education programs, and then there's the honors programs that you can take in middle school. And in high school, you're heavily encouraged to take AP classes, extracurriculars, do on your SAT, all in preparation to get you into a good college. And when you get into that good college, you're expected to network and to have an internship on top of getting good grades, all in preparation for having a good job, which if it's a good enough job, and you can continue on for the next 30 years. And I sort of realized that after graduating, if you're not planning on furthering your education, there's this sort of huge expanse of life afterwards where you're not told, or there's no social real norms of what to do besides find a job and support yourself and be financially stable. But this is sort of the trajectory that my mom followed. She worked at Toshiba for 20 years, and she had a great salary and great benefits, but for all of her career achievements and financial security, she didn't enjoy her job, and she couldn't enjoy her accomplishments. And she'd work all day and then come home, and she spent all her patience on her employees, and so she'd come home, and the smallest things would set her off into a rage. And I would tell some friends about family vacations that we went on, and tell them that we went to Hawaii or Europe, or and they were jealous, and I was really confused as to why they were jealous, because they were miserable. And eventually, her workload and stress caused her health to deteriorate, and with her high blood pressure, and she had liver problems that were really severe. It was it was a pretty scary time, but she ended up retiring early, and she started focusing on her health and family. And I don't know about, most of your parents, but I feel like my mom's story is not too different from a lot of people that I know. And I met up with my cousin over winter break, and she's the girl who, everybody is really impressed by her job, and she has an apartment right outside of Central Park, a really prime location. And I asked her how she was enjoying her work, expecting to hear, oh, it's great, it's rewarding, and I'm glad that it affords me the opportunity to live in New York. She told me that she hated her job, and she said, oh, sorry, so that's my cousin, and she said to me, at some point you realize that you just need a job to pay the bills. And I don't know about you guys, but that kind of scares me, especially when I'm about to step off of this, carved out path that's been pretty convenient. You don't really have a choice after elementary school. You kind of have to go to middle school or be truant. And after you graduate from college, there's this expectancy for you to go off into the workforce. But what after that? And so I was wondering, why does life have to be that way? Why do people do work at jobs they hate? And I know Mickey just mentioned that you sometimes have to tough through it, but it's hard to tough through something for 30 years. So I realized that it doesn't have to be that way. And so these people are entrepreneurs who took the strange, the road less traveled route, and they ignored conventional norms and opted to have more freedom in their lifestyle, and they're able to check off items on their bucket list while generating income. So the first person that came to mind was Tim Ferriss. So how many of you guys have read The 4-Hour Workweek or heard of it? Okay, awesome. So anything with the 4 hour in it is probably Tim Ferriss. He wrote these 3 books: The 4-Hour Workweek, The 4-Hour Chef, The 4-Hour Body. And the only book I've read, though, is The 4-Hour Workweek. But he has a few ideas that really resonated with me, and maybe some of his ideas I don't agree with. But he has these ideas of distributed or mini retirements versus just one retirement. And that idea is, traditionally you work all your life and you save up and you hope that you can retire one day at a reasonable age. But with this idea, you take retirements throughout your life so that you're able to do the things that when you're younger, you're physically able to do. And I think that this makes a lot more sense than working so hard until, your body is older and more less capable of doing active things to retire. And he also talks about working remotely versus commuting to work and working in spaces where you're often interrupted by goings-on at the office. Thankfully I haven't had too much of a terrible commute, but I hate sitting in traffic. And the thought of sitting in traffic for an hour every day, on the way there, on the way back, that's just, I think I'd blow an aneurysm getting really pissed off in my car every day going to work. And the third one is the idea of having your own automated business versus, working 40 or more hour weeks at a job that you hate or that you don't love. And after I read this and was exposed to this idea, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if this could actually work? And then I was exposed to a guy named Dan Andrews. This guy is the founder of Tropical MBA. So this is a podcast that sort of highlights the merits of living in an area somewhere in the world that has a lower cost of living, but at the same time but in addition to having a low cost of living, there's the tropical luxuriousness that a lot of people spend their whole life saving up for. And in addition to that, he has these three businesses, one for portable bars, one for valet services, and one for cat furniture. And these seem like really random ideas. But what really impressed me and what makes these companies so successful is that they're so specific. And they're really niche target markets that he's really drilled down to the core, and he understands what his customers want. And I mean, he made $1 million, and he's probably making a ton more right now, so he's doing something right. And this is Nick and Tim from the Elevator Life. So they founded the Elevator Life, which is a video blog website that provides support and encourages people who want to expand their businesses to foreign markets, particularly China, where they're based. So they also have another company, Royal American Wines, where they import American wines to China. And they recently had a successful Kickstarter campaign for these Lexel stone and stainless steel watches. And I'll talk more about Kickstarter soon. But a lot of people think that being an entrepreneur or entrepreneurial pursuits are really risky. But you know, more and more people are riding the trend. And there's with crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, a lot of the risk is sort of taken away and it's changing the way that new products are being introduced to the market. Instead of putting up a lot of money up front and making a bunch of products that you are just praying will sell, you get validated by people who want to back your project. And by seeing how many people back your project and are willing to pay for your product, then you can get your product into production and actually come out with a product. And in addition to that, there's a lot of people who are going through this same path, this same entrepreneurial path, where and there are resources online, and these trailblazers are really ready to support whoever's really serious about this. And so I've talked to some of you guys about giving this talk I've talked to some of you guys about giving this TED Talk and was pretty hesitant about it. For those of you who don't know me, and even for those of you who do know me, this might seem to be coming out of left field, and you might think I'm crazy, and it's fair. Like, it's a fair thing to say because I haven't done any of this yet. But learning about this alternative lifestyle has radically changed my trajectory of life in my life, and I've been inspired to move to China and try out this entrepreneurial route. And maybe there's a reason that the tried and true way is the way that most people follow, and maybe I won't be able to get anything off the ground or sell a product or sell an idea. But if I don't go, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And I have this opportunity right now before I dive off into the next 30 years of my life, if that's where my life takes me. And so, I'm going to capitalize on my love for designing and making things and traveling. And I'm so excited to see my ideas become manifest products. So, and if nothing else, I'll be in China, so I'm going to develop my Chinese language skills and hopefully develop some product design skills and business marketing skills, anything, So to sum it all up, I've made my familiar strange, and I'm looking forward to making the strange familiar.